the England job and the United job have always been very similar, like described as poison chalices, you know, situations where
Spurs job.
you've got to be very, boy, listen, you got to be very like determined that you want to make that your job.
Yeah.
And obviously, you play Football Manager, you see many managers in your time. From the both of you, or we can have a general conversation, with where England are at the moment, being perennial sort of second place, golden generation coming through, sniffing around but not really being able to get there, a nation that's expecting greatness, quote unquote, best league in the world, who would be the right manager to take England where they need to be? Because I think there's different thoughts on this.
I mean, there was talks just the other day where Thomas Tuchel potentially could be in line for that, and you talk about cup managers, who better than Tuchel? But he is not the person who I personally would pick. I'd go with Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe has kind of built his name and reputation with Bournemouth, showing that he can build a club up. His player development at Newcastle, I think, has been fantastic, where I think it's a job that people thought he was maybe going to get tons of money to play with, but you've seen over the past 2 years it hasn't been the case. I feel like both clubs, he's hit good ceilings. He's shown good tactical ability to be flexible, both defensively and going forward. And I think England kind of... You've tried a variety of managers. I feel like this, with Eddie Howe, as you said, you've got a young crop of players there that you know are going to be there for the next 6-7 years. You need a manager that's going to be able to grow with that. Similar like what Southgate did for the past 6 to 8 years. Now you want the next manager to be able to do that as well. I think Carsley, it might be too soon. I think the last game maybe showed a little bit of naivety, in my opinion, tactically, that maybe he's not ready for this. You need someone who's ready now. And I think Eddie Howe, he's been under the pressures at Newcastle. He's been under pressure of the Premier League as well. I think international management, some would say maybe he's too young, would he take the job? But I think the England national team job is one of those jobs you never turn down.
Yeah, I do you know what it is. Yeah, I think with the Graham, I'm not Graham Potter. That's who I would take, but I'll get into that. I think Lee Carsley, I wanted him to get the job. Now, if he doesn't want to do it, I'm not going to sit here and fight him. If he doesn't want to do it, he wants to do it on 21s. Maybe that's what he finds. I do think there's a massive overreaction to his decision on the weekend because, I mean, Kane wasn't there. I get it. He should have probably played a number 9. It's
the first time.
But it's the first time, England history I haven't done it. But listen, I think he was just trying something. It was a little experiment. It didn't work. But the thing is, though, you want to see him. You want an England manager that's going to try and prioritize the best players, you know what I mean, or the best football players. And sometimes maybe some people say you don't want to put all of them in at one time, which I understand. He experimented, it didn't work. The first 2 games, it was good. Grealish played in the 10, etc. And everyone was like, oh, this is where these guys should be playing. This is nice. It goes wrong one game. This is why he shouldn't be the England manager. So I just thought it was a little bit of a exaggeration. But listen, he didn't want the job. Fair enough. For me, I can hear Eddie Howe. Thomas Tuchel is a better manager than Howe. He's a better manager than Graham Potter. 100%. But I just wonder why England always want to go down the foreign route. Yeah. Like, and listen, I'm not going to say... honestly, though, yeah, it sounds like patriotic or whatever. But it's the reality, though. Like, England always... Sven-Goran Eriksson, Capello... You always want to get this... They always want to go for this world-renowned named manager.
Sexy foreign manager.
Yeah, like, other nations don't do this. It's always England that want to go off and do that. So I'm like... And then it'll be England who will sit there and say... Why don't we have an English manager that's never won the Premier League? Why do we not have an English manager that's ever... You know what I mean? That's been super successful. I mean, but when you have the England job, you're giving it to Sven, you're giving it to Capello, you want to give it to Thomas Tuchel. Now, if Tuchel comes in, of course, I'm going to support him and stuff. I think he's a great manager. But I do think it should go to... You should prioritize the nation of where you're from. If you're Brazilian, look for a Brazilian. If you're Italian, look for an Italian. It's not just, England, Britannia. And I'm not saying it like that. But so I think Graham Potter, I would give it to him. I think he's got that international experience in terms of he's worked abroad. He's studied abroad. So has Eddie Howe as well, to be honest. They've studied abroad, you know, and the way he plays football, he's got that kind of calming demeanor as well. You see, like, I didn't think he was the personality for a top club team where every single week they're asking you questions, they're demanding pressure. But I think England, you see each other every 2-3 months. He's got that kind of demeanor, kind of what Gareth Southgate had, but I fancy him more as a manager. You know what I mean? I fancy him more as I've seen him do with Brighton. Obviously, he didn't get much chance with Chelsea, but I just look at him as a person, and I look at him stylistically, and I think he could suit this crop of players coming up for England because it's important.
That's my only kind of withdrawal with Graham Potter, and I do agree. I think the fact that England do have almost Graham Potter and Eddie Howe, you should be looking at these types of managers rather than looking for him. But I think the withdrawal I have with Graham Potter is the fact that he went to Chelsea and it almost seemed like he walked in there, you know, big-eyed and the job seemed too big for him. And I remember in the press conference, you were actually saying, you know, you don't feel like he's kind of owning the room. And I think how the England job and how the England media could potentially eat him up. And I'm like, I just feel like Eddie Howe's a bit more poised. He's a bit more seasoned as well and kind of has been through the ringer a little bit more.
Made that jump.
Now, Eddie Howe maybe hasn't made that jump with Newcastle, but I think that has been a club thing holding him back in terms of the finances. Kind of this summer, you look at how they've spent. I don't think that's
I don't mean as
putting Eddie Howe in a position to succeed and push further. I think he's kind of almost maxed out with what he's doing.
No, I don't mean. I don't mean
tactically.
No. I mean the club. He hasn't made the jump that Graham Potter did to Chelsea. Newcastle's not a pressure pot like the top four.
You can say that. You can say that.
We don't
but
know
then,
if he's
but then that's where I feel like he almost, if he takes this jump, that's where we see it. And I would be more ready to. I think Eddie Howe is more kind of ready for this job than Graham Potter. I still think Graham Potter needs almost another job to kind of get that bit of credential back.
I think both are interesting because what both of you are speaking to is one, the sort of like the right thing to do in terms of not going like international manager, but two, sort of longevity.
Because remember,
and I guess with England fans though, the difference, the conversation probably is, should we be looking at longevity if we know that we've been
No, it's not longevity, but it's guys who can still make an impact now. Because historically, the reason why England have always gone for these foreign managers because the English managers available, they didn't feel stylistically could do what some of them could do. And I feel like,
not to interrupt, stylistically is one point, but I mean, Gareth Southgate's style got England to finals. So it's not a style thing. It's more sort of having that panache to get across the line.
But I do think the style factor does come into it, especially after seeing Southgate's football for the past couple of years. I do think England do want to move to a more attractive style, and they're wondering maybe if a foreign manager will do that. I think with the Potters, with the Eddie Howes, they're capable of doing that, and they've shown they can do that now. That's why I feel like you should go for them rather than... Because historically, what was it? Alan Kirbysh, Sam Allardyce, Pardews. You're looking at those managers and you're like, there's a limitation on what they can do. These two, I still think they haven't reached their full managerial potential.
That's what I'm saying. I think with Potter, you don't want to be looking too much long term. I understand that. Like, you don't want to just, this manager's going to be the next manager for the next 10 years. That's England are getting a squad that can win now. Yep. You know what I mean? And even the young players that are coming through, they can contribute. So it's not like, they're just cute little youngsters like Theo Walcott time. You know, like when Walcott, you're gonna need a long time to get ready. But the guys that are coming through now, they look like they can get involved straight away.
You've got Champions League winners, you've got league winners, you've got people that are used to winning more stuff. So than the coaches that are potentially coming in.
Exactly, and that's the thing that's why I just think, right, like, I actually agree. I actually think mine would actually be Potter then Howe, right? It will be Potter then Howe. So I'm not really whatever. But the way I'm looking at these managers, I'm just thinking like, as you said, camps are not going to be. It's not a regular thing. It's not a regular thing. You just need a manager that can come in, understand, and I'm not even looking at it as in like, Graham Potter is now going to start doing diagram. England are going to start playing like Pep's Man City. I'm not even saying that, but just what you said, just that little bit more. How can you be a little bit more attractive? Or not even forget about attraction. How can you make teams respect you a little bit more? England never did that. England never did that. England had. Go back to the final against